Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on the persuasive communicator. My name is Anand Diwan. I would be your facilitator for the session today. And when I am not facilitating sessions, I am running the organization as Group CEO. And we will bring in as much application oriented, as much real life flavor as we can into a hopefully power packed 1 hour session. Objective being that you can see and carry back some tangible skills on the other side of this 1 hour. PTC informs me that we should push back in, by the way, PTC is participant traffic control. And PTC informs me that we can start our pushback in 30 seconds and post that another minute for people to settle in, and then we can take off. Am I audible? Could you just put your response in the chat box, please? I see some people saying no audio. Okay, so I have majority of yeses. Thank you so much for that. So people who are typing in, please check audio. If you can't listen, rest can. Arti, are you there on the call? Arti, are you there on the call? Okay. That's Ron, I'm not able to unmute Aarti. It's showing up here. Aarti, you unmuted now.
Yes, yes,
Okay, so would you manage the chat box, please,
sure,
for
I'll
any
do that.
questions?
Yes,
So are we good to go? What does participant control tell me? We are at 3:31. Can we take off?
yeah, we should be good.
Because you have the numbers and everything with you. So I need to get your clearance on starting the session. Normally, norm is that I wait for about a minute max, but I can still see people trickling in. So, Aarti? Okay, so let's not make people who've joined in on time wait any further. Once again, a very good afternoon to all of you. As I start this session, I invite you to please take a writing instrument and a piece of paper. And in case you wish to write down what I'm going to say now, because it's not going to appear on the PPT as we go forward. And if you wish to write down the statement, please do. This is as a precursor, as a curtain raiser, as an opener to the session. When we talk of communication and interaction between people, people get along well with people. People get along well with people where they see their shadow or they see their future. I'm not seeking yes, no, right, wrong. I'm just asking you to park this statement on a piece of paper. We will come back to this piece of paper end of the session. So People get along well with people where they see their shadow or they see their future. With that statement parked with you, which we will revisit once we come to the end of this session, I move on with today's session on the persuasive communicator. And here is our first poll, which I will launch now and invite your responses to the statements here. Have you dealt with someone recently? So this is poll one that I'm launching. I hope you can see it on your screens. Aarti, can you confirm that, please? Here is poll one on your screens. Have you dealt with someone recently who you think is nuts? Pardon my French there, please. Have you wondered why we trust some of the people more than others? And here is third one. If you think of a person X, this we all have people in our lives where we find the interaction to be a bit challenging. So if you could think of a person X, the issue that bothers you max about the person, and you have those choices there. Okay, so we are still, responses are trickling in, and I will end the poll in another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that's where we end the poll. And here are the results on what the audience is saying in the poll. You can see them for yourself. Have you dealt with a person? 55% say yes, 19% say no, and 27% not decided as yet, which is okay. Have you wondered why we trust some type of people more than the others? Yes. No, 14%, 11% maybe. And person X, the attitude of the person. All right, thank you so much for supporting me on that survey. We will keep the survey at the backdrop, and it forms the basis of going forward in our session for today. We all know, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, and also to set the basic format, that we all know what is the cost of poor communication, both at people cost and business cost. But when we look at the persuasive communicator, that is just one of the minor aspects of communication that we look at. This is a lot more deeper from a communication standpoint. It probably goes into meta communication. It goes just beyond the words and content. It goes into people and personalities as well, which is what we will experience. Now, if you were to do just to give you an overview on how it is structured and what all we cover in the program, if you were to do the full day program, what you could get to do first of all is, I'm sure you all have taken the assessment which came, and any of you who has a score of less than 100, you're at the right place. Welcome once again. Those who have above 100 will still get to pick up something over the next 1 hour on the other side of the session. And beyond that mini survey, if I can say that you did, when we do the complete program, there is a complete assessment of your own profiling as a communicator, and it uses that entire profiling tool as the foundation during the program, so you can reflect on self and reflect on person X where you find it challenging to interact with, and you get a complete profile assessment on what you could do differently. So examine how people communicate, miscommunicate with each other, develop a systematic method of recognizing the behavior of our customers and people we interact with in terms of their needs as human beings, as individuals, basis profiles that we discuss, see ourselves as others perceive us. And since communication is to do with more than one or one to many, it's integral that how we look at how others perceive us, learn how to build trust, and practice empathy and flexibility. Trust, empathy, flexibility are words I'll keep repeating quite often in this session. Okay. Also, like we said, that the objective is to provide tangible skill set, something that end of the session one can use. So even when we do a day program, it ends with a game plan that you are able to make, and it further supports you on a mobile based app as well, which you can use for the last mile connectivity of taking the skills back to the workplace. Ensure continued use of new skills to bring results, and again. Develop a personal action plan for someone you need to influence directly after the workshop. One of the things we have seen when we conduct workshop is people want to take the learning to the maximum degree of challenge in their life, be it sales or communication. This program readies you to take the car, as in the new skill, to the Himalayan car rally, as into the most difficult, challenging areas of your life. However, for the purpose of today's session, these are three areas where we will focus. One is to share the concept of trust, and trust in relation to acceptance, gaining agreement for action, or from a sales perspective, getting a closure. If there are any salespeople in the audience, share one skill to build trust with person X. And that certainly you'll be able to pick up the tangibility as we talk about the skill. Encourage you, of course, to use the skills that we talk about. Okay, so with that, I again invite you on the simple exercise, and you can just put in the words in the chat box. What are the differences between the easiest person and the difficult person, the most difficult person? Why do we communicate with one and not with the other? So what is the difference between your easiest and difficult person? So when we talk of easiest, what makes it easiest? When you talk of difficult, what makes it difficult? If I can see some responses in the chat box. And why is it difficult? Easy, transparent, open, understand, flexible, open to ideas. Okay, and the difficult one, and why the difficult one is difficult. Okay, I've got the ones on easiest, which are, I assume, are easy. Okay, commanding, poor listening, not approachable. Okay, unpredictable, domineering. All right, too loud. Okay, all right. So these differences exist, and these differences make it therefore difficult. We will dig a little deeper to see as to why these differences occur and why they pose the challenge. And we will see also certain solutions on how we can address this. Just give me a moment while I can get Aarti, give her voice back. Aarti, I'm not able to find you in the chat box. And I've unmuted you earlier, so I really don't know what to do differently. Let me try this one more time. No, it's not happening, so that's fine. Okay. I will have to stop sharing and redo this once again so that you don't get those on the screen. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to give you two scenarios here. Again, once again, invite your responses in the chat box. So imagine this. On your left-hand side, you have, let's say, a 5 feet 9 inches person on your left-hand side who always has had your good interest at heart, always tries to look at and provide you support on what is best for you, shows personally vested interest in you doing well and succeeding in life. Now, this person on your left has some very valuable feedback to share with you on certain habits that you have, which are career limiting habits. Okay. So a person on your left hand side, 5 feet 9 inches, good friend, always has your best interest on heart, has certain valuable feedback for you, which is about on your habits that are career limiting habits, which you may want to look at. That's on your left hand side. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how receptive, with 1 being the least and 10 being the highest, how receptive would you be? Keep the answer ready with you. Once I give you both the persons, now the person on your right, then put your answer there, please. And on your right-hand side is a person whom you have known to be a little manipulative, political, not so, to use information for best personal interest. He also, by the way, has the similar feedback for you, which includes certain habits of yours which could be career limiting. So I have two people, one on your right, one on your left. I have described who they are on a scale of one being least, 10 being maximum. How receptive on this scale would you be to the communication coming to you from these ends? You could just do a, let's say, a 7, 5, 10, 2, 10, 7, 10, 8, whatever. So the first one, which I said, and the second one, you could just put your responses in the chat box: a 10 and a 4, a 9 and a 2, a 9 and a 6, 10 and a 3, 9 and a 4. So it goes without saying, from the trends that I can see, what we are saying is the person whom we see having interest, my interest at heart, I would be possibly more receptive, right? Therefore, what it is also saying is that the content doesn't matter. The person and my trust on the person matters more than the content. Okay. I just want you to stay with this. I'm not making any conclusions here. I'm just building on the concepts right now. So basis this small exercise, what we are saying is that content is not so important. The person and the trust on the person plays a higher role than the content being equal. Okay. So let's see how this builds up further as we go. In the persona approach, we keep things pretty simple, just like the example that you saw right now. Pragmatic, the whole approach pretty non-threatening. It is participative, quite inclusive. You would see at a very individual level, and you leverage technology as a support, ongoing support for you, because one of the things we see is when learnings are picked up and we take it to the application stage, we need some hand holding, and that is electronic based hand holding which we provide. So the persona trust model looks at the communication from the aspect which typically, if one sees, is top of the iceberg, where the actions that you do or say and how they are observed with people builds an element of trust. How does that trust gets built is a function of how consistent you are in your communication, in your action, in your commitments, in your interaction with people. Higher the consistency, higher the chances of you developing the trust. Now, the way persona looks at this model, and of course this process, if I look at top down, is it begins at an interaction, and then over a period of time with various experiences that one gets, depending on how is the withdrawal and deposit of consistency and elements of trust, we develop either a comfortable relationship or a not a comfortable relationship. I will relate about this, you know, uh, uh, hit and run methodology that unconsciously keeps in on, we win some, we lose some. But can we consciously look at a winning approach in all our communication efforts? The persona trust model talks about a bottom up approach, where you look at to that needs of a particular individual. And if we address the need of that individual in the process of communication, we are able to strike at the initial stage itself what we call as a win-win. Let me give you an example. I have a team member who invariably has a phenomenally high need for the nitty-gritties. If I were to tell him I reached, almost to the top of Himalayas, his next question would be, give me the exact feet that we are talking about. What was the above sea level that you noted? That's the level. I mean, I'm talking, I risked my life. I reached Himalayas. I was there. What is the question coming? Give me the sea level that you were at. Oops. The whole enthusiasm around going to the next kind of, but that's an individual's need. Amazingly high. I have another team member, each time comes up is extremely enthusiastic, extremely energetic about what idea he has to share, and is brilliant at painting the big picture. And moment I ask that what are the next steps to execution, moment I get into detailing, I see a bit of scrambling and whole enthusiasm going in different direction. But people are people, they are different, and different is equal to not wrong. But those being absolutely detail oriented is one need, and being the big picture is another need. Now, look at bringing this scenario to communication, where in my communication, if I can have a way to know and identify and spot these needs within different people, and therefore structure and address my communication in a manner where it meets that need for detailing, need for recognition, need for being liked, those personal needs are met in the inside of the content of that conversation, the chances of seeing win-win become higher. Now, that can only happen when I demonstrate an element of flexibility, because even I, as an individual, have a certain style. And there is nothing good or bad about styles. It's each individual's need slash style. So if I adopt flexibility, I act as a positive change agent in that situation. And I also get the response from the person. And demonstrating that flexibility, I also am able to create good expectations by being an issue resolver, issue solver, because I'm able to get the person on the same page of receptivity of my conversation. My own detail orientation to a person when I communicate detail, my own big picture orientation, my own element of execution detailed out, depending on what personality I'm talking to, would help me to demonstrate higher and faster levels of trust building. This is the personas trust model on building trust element with people. We will be building upon this. This is just the introduction to the concept. Okay. Uh, I was seeing some questions in the chat box quickly. Okay, audio is good. Check the system. Good. All right. Okay, let's move forward. This is poll 2, which I will just launch. I would invite you, from whatever that you know, from a self-awareness point of view, of the 4 basic interpersonal needs, which is the most important to you? And the poll should be visible to you now. I am launching the poll. There it goes. Please confirm to me and start responding to the poll. I've already launched the poll. Hope it's visible. Okay. Personal recognition, acceptance by others, security of being right, achievement. We've reached the 50% mark on the poll. We still have another 50% to go. You can take a little while there, because I understand it's about, thinking back, talking to yourself a little before you put your responses. Absolutely understandable. We have about 70 more people to go for their response before I close the poll. Okay, can invite you to a little more speed on the poll, please. I will be talking about how does one change style. This is not even, I have not even covered whet your appetite content as yet. I'm still to get there on how to adapt. I'll end the polling here, and the results would be visible to you now. Please bear with me. Can anybody mimic Mr. Bachchan's voice? Because I believe computer. Oh, I just said Bachchan and it is there. Because it was not showing me the results. I thought computers understand Mr. Bachchan's voice better, so we'll get that borrowed from people here. Are you able to see the results on the screen? So out of the group, 23% say personal recognition, 39% say acceptance by others, and 11% say security of being right, 27% say achievement. All right, how dynamically this changes group to group. The other time I was doing this, we had overwhelming majority on security of being right, but such is life, always with different sets of people. So just remember what you've scored. It doesn't really matter on what others have scored, but what did you choose for yourself? And the group is more for my sense to see where is the majority of group, and if I were to adapt to the group, which are the ones that I should be looking at more closely. And highest, of course, we saw was 39% there, which is acceptance by others. Okay, so let's build upon this. These are three different types, and this will then form the foundation for personalities as we go forward and talk about them. Okay. Now I'm going to put a name here very soon, and a name I'm assuming is a well-known name in India. And if I were to ask your responses in the chat box, please use the words to describe this person in your own way, whatever words that come to your mind. Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. Please put the words that come to your mind in the chat box. Just the name, what words come? Dynamic, visionary, brave, bold, chokidar, intelligent, dynamic, visionary, great leader, long vision, honest, talent, boss, dictator, great leader, visionary. All right, we've got quite a few of them. Thank you so much. I am really happy to see such quick speeds and level of participation. So just by putting a person there and bases our observations on whatever that one has seen, read about the person, we are able to quickly put words to those actions. Now, when you see, there is a meaning inside of those words from which reflects dominance and emotions. So there is a research that was done around this, which you could, Google more about this research. So the words would reflect, some of these words reflects dominance and some of the words reflect emotion. And these words we've picked up by observing the person who was named there. Okay. Now, when we look at from a behavioral point of view and on these words, they would be on the side on an individual's personality, which could get described as dominating or unassuming behavior, because those words are being given to the behavior that is being observed by the people who have listened to the communication. And it is put on two extremes. On one side is dominating behavior, and other side is unassuming behavior. Okay, let's just do a rapid fire round on some of the names that I will put up on the screen. Okay, please remove. Okay, I will just remove the poll results. They are not showing on my screen, but I will need to go to the poll and close it. Thank you. I hope that's not troubling you any longer. And I have gone back to the PPT so that in case anybody missed it, you can get it. So we talked of that we looked at the behavior to which we gave the words, and words represents dominance and emotions both. So from a behavioral standpoint, it reflects dominant behavior and an unassuming behavior. And this was for Narendra Modi, basis whatever that we would have absorbed while we listened to him. Now, I'm going to give you a rapid fire and I'm going to put some names there. And I would invite you to put your responses in the chat box. You could just say once. Number one, Amitabh Bachchan. Where would you put him? Okay. So Amitabh Bachchan, charismatic, but on dominance and unassuming, where would you put him? Dominance. Now we are looking for either dominance or unassuming, either of the two. So Mr. Bachchan, we are saying dominance. I'm only looking for two words, dominance or unassuming. Such Amol Palekar, dominance or unassuming? Unassuming. Okay, Sachin Tendulkar, dominance or unassuming? Unassuming. Amir Khan, this is a tricky one. Think before you answer. Think before you answer. With Amir Khan, okay, actually, Amir Khan would border between being dominance and unassuming. Knowing Mr. Khan, not that I worked too closely with him. Salman Khan, that shouldn't be difficult. Dominance. Salman Khan, dominance, dominance, dominance for Salman Khan. Indira Gandhi, dominance. That wasn't too difficult. Manmohan Singh, where would he be? Manmohan Singh, where would we put Manmohan Singh? Unassuming, in between, unassuming and in between, unassuming. Majority I see is saying unassuming. Majority I see is saying unassuming. All right. So, well, it's about how you've interpreted. And I see silent also as a response. That was not up on the cards. Silence was not an option. Okay. So yeah, I believe somebody had a question. If you're raising your hand, you can just put it in the chat box, because I just couldn't get to unmute Arti, who was supposed to help me with that. Uh, I still can't get on to fine. Okay. If someone had raised their hand, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat box. Nope. Okay, so let's move forward. So we saw for ourselves just the name there, 100 seconds. We were able to see basis all the interactions of seeing them on screen or off camera, on camera. We could, quickly connect to say whether dominance or unassuming. So therefore, people observe and are able to put people into dominance or unassuming behaviors. Okay, when we look at dominance, speaks often, appears confident, makes statement direct to the point, challenges point of view. All these behaviors that get associated. Similarly, when unassuming, the behaviors that get associated is speaks little, appears unsure. So let us say post this workshop, if one was to observe before being able to adapt, that whether I am wanting to, communicate with someone, where would I put him? Dominant or unassuming? Basis your interactions, you would be able to put people into these categories. Okay, that observation reflected when we just did the exercise, and we saw that fastest finger and quick 100 seconds exercise. So this is one part that we have come, which you can, as you go back, you will be able to put them into different buckets of dominant behavior or unassuming behavior. And of course, as we build upon, what do we do next once we have identified the behavior? Now within this behavior, there is an behavior which we call as expansive behavior or a contained behavior. Expansive behavior would be where people are expressive. Contained is where they are a little reserved. Let's look at, again, from the same point of view, what would you say for Mr. Bachchan? Contained or expansive? Mr. Bachchan, chat box, please. Where would you put him? Contained or expansive? Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, what would you put him as? Contained, expansive. Okay. Expansive. Where would we put Mr. Amol Palekar? Contained or expansive? Contained. Where would we put Mr. Sachin Tendulkar? Contained or expansive? Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin Tendulkar, Zainab says expansive. Okay. Sachin Tendulkar would fall more towards contained. Amir Khan, yes, like we said earlier, you could see him contained as well as expansive. Keeps, depending on the situation, fairly high degree of flexibility. Indira Gandhi, where would we put her? Expansive or contained? Indira Gandhi, expansive or contained? Expansive. Okay, last one. Manmohan Singh, expansive, contained? Contained. All right, thank you so much. So this is the second rapid fire to look at how we see personalities basis their actions. So when you look at expansive or contained, expansive appears open, people oriented, projects warmth, wide gestures, spontaneous. So now when we talked of Sachin Tendulkar, this is where I wanted to invite your attention that when you look at Sachin Tendulkar closely, you would see him more contained in his behavior. Show of emotions, expansive, facial expression, humorous, tells jokes. Not all of them, or some of them, or more than one of them. Similarly, for contained, it's right there. Appears reserved, does not project warmth, formal, not show off, does not show emotion. Doesn't mean zero, but not expressive with emotion, self-disciplined, organized. All right. So when we look at, we've now looked at dominating, unassuming, expansive, and contained behavior. How does it put it into the communication matrix? There are 4 styles in an individual. So when you do your report as well, these styles will show up for you. For those of us who are saying, how do we identify it and how do we connect? This is the slide you want to really look at and not miss. So the 4 styles will appear here on the screen, and I'll take one style at a time. So one of the styles that people have who are high on expansive and at the same time high on dominant is a promoting style. Okay, we will talk more details on the style on promoting. So one of the styles is promoting, another style is facilitating, analytical, and control. So when you do as part of a full day session, you get to see your own personality as to what is your style. You also get to see how people perceive your style to be. You also get a third angle. How does the person with whom you have maximum challenge of communication and you want to improve your communication, how does that person see your style, and what is that person's style? So you get a complete almost 180-degree plus view of yourself in order to develop a solid action plan in terms of how you could enhance and improve your communication. Okay. So when we look at promoting style, it's stimulating, verbal, enthusiastic, flair, creative, energetic, socializes, assertive skills. Okay. When we look at facilitating, is expansive and unassuming. Expansive and unassuming. Let's look at a little more deeper into the style. Is caring, nice person, sensitive, very friendly, helpful. Some people you can easily, I mean, you just fall, I would say, like fall in trust with them. Careful with people, cooperative. They're easy to get along. Unassuming style. Analytical style, unassuming and contained, whom we also refer to as reserved. Okay, less verbal, specific, detailed, precise, extracting, patient, more internal thinking and writing. Okay? And then you have controlling, which is dominant and contained, determined, direct, result oriented, money oriented, time conscious, immediate return, winning, impatient. So these, sorry, these are the four styles. They're all showing up there. We've just been through a process where step by step we analyzed words, then behaviors, then we applied it to a larger context on whatever we would have seen and how we can categorize. This is how the four different styles show up in the communications matrix. Okay. Promoting, facilitating, analytical, and controlling. Now, when you look at the trust model that we spoke about, so when I know that I'm approaching a style which is facilitating in nature, I understand what is the inherent need. It'll help me, and we will get into getting into understanding those inherent needs in a much more deeper manner than what you see here, because right now the need that it shows is by being helpful and trusting, being helpful to others. The need for analytical is about being precise. The need for controlling is about winning. The need for promoting is about socializing, assertive on ideas. So those are the needs. Now, if I can structure my communication, which could also address that element of need, my chances of building trust are stronger and faster. Okay. Let's also, when you would look at your styles on the sheet, it would not be, for all one specific point. The point will tell us to a degree to which you are dominating and to the degree to which you are expansive. The more farther away from the center, the stronger is the trait. The closer to the center, the lesser is the trait, typically like any other questionnaire that you would do in psychometric. So in that, your style comes out, and also how have you rated your style, and how have people you have chosen to seek responses from, how do they rate you? So it talks about what you feel you are and how others perceive you to be. Others become important in this case because end of the day, communication is between two people. Pravesh, you have a question, you can put it in the chat box, please. I know you've raised your hand. It would just save us time if I can have it in the chat box. Or let's see if I can unmute because it already says unmute all. And Pravesh, do you want to put your question in the chat box?
I am unable to access the chat box.
Oh,
It's
I am
locked
so
me out.
sorry. Now that you're unmuted, please go ahead with your question.
No, no. I wanted to respond to your questions when you had posed, but the chat box
Oh,
was not enabled.
I am so sorry. I always say children and electronics, they don't make you proud when you want them to. We've tried, tested everything twice over, and still we come up with surprises. My apologies for that. All right, please keep them coming in, and we'll try and understand why the chat box is not showing up for you. Okay, so let's move forward for now. So here is the poll 3 that's going to come your way, which I'm going to launch right away. What do you think is your own style? Promoting, facilitating, analytical, or dominant? From a self-awareness perspective, what is your style? And how should you change to adapt to communicate to this group? Which was the highest style for this group? Do we remember? Acceptance, which was facilitating. So how could we adapt to the style to communicate with this group? That's the poll. I'll put up the poll and then we'll come back to this question again. So this is removed. Where is the poll? Okay. Poll number 3. Poll 3 is launching now on your screens. What do you see is your style? Are you able to all see this? Okay, it's there. We are 117. Request the little fastest finger, please. Okay, some more responses on what's your style. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And ending the poll. Here are the results. So 15% people feel they are promoting, 56% facilitating, 21% analytical, and 8% dominant. I hope you've all seen the score. 56% are saying facilitating. Let's move further. So if we are saying that majority of this group is facilitating, how could we? I want you to keep this question in your mind. How should I change or adapt to communicate to this group? We will build and see more upon what we can do. The thing that comes in when we want to improve our skills in terms of interaction with people is flexibility. That's the key thing, because when you look at behaviors, there is not one behavior that we would always be boxed into. We do have a degree of flexibility. Within that flexibility is how much I am of which behavior, which becomes my predominant behavior. And then depending on situation, I could travel into the other quadrants as well. But my ability to be in other quadrants is a reflection of what is my flexibility. It is the key tool in resolving conflict and bargaining with bringing people together. Sorry, bringing people together is not seeking only to satisfy your own needs, is taking both parties' needs into account in negotiating a win-win agreement, the ability to satisfy their needs as well as to our own and reach a win-win solution. So if you recall, when we talked of the trust model, at the bottom we said is about coming to a win-win solution, and flexibility is the tool that takes us in that direction. Okay? So position in a matrix doesn't matter, your flexibility does. So when you look at this communication styles matrix, where you are certainly displays, yes, that's the predominant style that you would have or people see you as. But what's more important is the flexibility. The higher you go up in the leadership position, the higher you require your degree of flexibility, because you are dealing with a much larger spectrum of audience and the stakes are also high, and hence the demand on leaders' ability to be flexible in order to reach out effectively to people. Okay? Here, flexibility is not about compromise, it's about getting on and understanding the need of the other style in the matrix and being able to adapt yourself to the style in order to improve effectiveness of your communication. Okay? So the basic need is mentioned here on this slide. When we talk of basic needs of communication, you have the different styles: promoting, facilitating. Now, if I look at promoting as a style, the basic need for that style is personal recognition. So when I am talking to this person, how does my communication structure to appeal to his need for personal recognition? So if you were to do this, how does it, you know, recognize you personally? How does it make you look good? And in today's social environment, there are a lot of people who want to look good. So if I can structure in my conversation, what if I were to able to influence you? How does it make you look good? The chances of making my communication become effective stand out to be higher. So let us say it's a proposal. Let us say it's an idea that I want to share. Let us say it's a negotiation that I am in. Give it any situation. Let us say it's conflict resolution, and I have a person I know has a promoting style. How can I structure my conversation so I can make him recognize that this would give you a personal recognition? Okay. And of course, these are subtly done, not upfront. Facilitating style. Facilitating style sees how I will get accepted. How will others see me? So in my conversation, if I can say that if you are influenced and you act in a certain manner, the way I would like you to act, this is how it impacts your acceptance by others. This will make the facilitative style build more trust and make your communication effective. And each time I'm saying making your communication effective, that effectiveness is an outcome of building a trust. So when we are playing our conversation in like making the facilitative style recognize that this will impact acceptance on others, I am building my level of trust with the person who has facilitating as a style. Security of being right with correct information. So with analytical style, the more I'm data oriented, more I'm detail oriented, is when I will win higher degree of trust because I'm addressing the inherent need. Similarly with dominant achievement, showing results, that language, that conversation builds trust faster than any other style that I would adopt. Okay. So all styles at one go. So if you look at personal recognition, dominant dominance and emotional, when we look at promoting style at one go, this PPT is giving you a glimpse of how do you identify those styles, what are some of the behavioral traits that are visible, what appeals to them, and how are they in terms of dominating and emotional or unassuming and emotional behaviors. It gives you for all the four styles. So it starts off, the key thing in communication is the trust model. Inside of the trust model are the different personalities, our ability to look at those communication style metrics from these four different types of personalities. Inside of those personalities, what is the personal need for them, whether it is acceptance, recognition, achievement, or being detail oriented, and how can I structure my conversation communication accordingly with them. Okay. Now, in absence of those styles, a behavioral tendency by us is not that we currently don't try to adapt, but we try our best in absence of following any structured approach. So it's like a shotgun, you know, when you shoot a bull, try to shoot a bull's eye with a shotgun, it has smaller pellets which go all over the board. And if one hits the bullseye, great. If not, at least I hit the board. So that's a very suboptimal approach to making my conversation effective. And hence it says that beware of the shotgun impact effect in your conversation. Okay. And make it more focused and precise by looking at the social keys. So no, some of those points in these styles that we have spoken about, there is no ideal style. No style is good or bad as a style. Each can be effective. Okay. Observe the behavior, not why people behave as they do, but what makes people different and how to deal with these differences effectively. Okay. Now, one of the things that I said, which I'll come to towards the end of this slide about, which I said, make a note on a piece of paper, not labeling people, but grouping the behaviors. Okay. The tool to understand others, identify the needs, build trust, and achieve good communication. Okay. Now, if you remember early on in the presentation, when we started, I said people get along well with people where they see their shadow or their future. Now, firstly, I didn't check. How many of us would agree with that? Can you put a quick yes or a no in the chat box? People get along well with people where they see their shadow or their future. Pravesh, you can speak. I've unmuted.
Which I agree to it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Any other responses? Yes, people get along well where they see shadow. Okay. Good to see that. I know more participants are raising hand, but my screen has a limitation. Let me make an attempt if I can uh, unmute you as well. 6 participants raising hand. Okay. Pravesh, no. Okay. Right. So I will stop sharing and share this. Sorry, I'm just sharing it again so that the disturbance that you had. Okay. So people get along well with people where they see their shadow or future. If we look back at people we get along well with, similar types, the element of trust is higher because I think we think similar. We share same values. So where I see my shadow, where I see my future, oh wow, that's what I would like to be. Again, a higher element of trust because we trust their actions to be the one that we would want to imbibe and do. So we get along well with people where we see our shadow or our future. All the skills that we talked about right now in terms of interacting with people are taking you in a direction which helps to demonstrate a behavior where either mirroring, which is shadow, or creating something which is more of people looking up and aspiring of wanting to be, creates a more effective communication. Right? The element of trust and empathy, okay, which I said we talked about, are key when I look at the persona globals model, and not just key, the uniqueness to this. Why build trust? Okay, less stressful relationship, increased credibility with others, seen as problem solver, win other confidence, greater self-confidence, and more durable results. So when I said people get along well, either they see their shadow or future, is a strong element of trust that binds them. And that's why trust becomes the center to these different styles. And while you are playing up to these styles, you're able to enhance your communication with those styles as well. Now, 4 elements inside of the trust are reliability, openness, acceptance, and congruence. And to each of, so if I have to build trust, reliability, which means obviously how much people can rely, openness, how open I am to different styles, different people, different situations, how acceptance I can be, and how aligned I can be, which is congruence. Each of these styles will value each of them differently. So if I look at promoting, they value openness more and they value reliability is much lesser. So on the other side is reliability, and valuing openness is much more. When we look at facilitating style, acceptance is valued over congruence. When I look at unassuming, it's reliability and less on openness. In that sense, you would see promoting and analytical to be literally opposites. Okay. When I look at dominant and facilitating, again to be opposites. Dominant is more about alignment slash congruence and less about acceptance. Okay. So the platinum rule of trust building, and listen to this one very carefully, it's not how we've known it. Do unto others as they want unto them. Okay. Treat others the way you would want to be treated is what we have heard. But the golden rule, the platinum rule of persona trust building model is do unto others as they want done unto them. Okay. That's the personas trust model. I hope we have some time with the questions. Okay. Yeah, I can just give you a quick glimpse. I don't know if you can get to the net, but as part of the process, if you attend the full day, we also give you are you able to get the audio? Are you able to get the audio? Just type me a yes or a no so we can. Okay, that brings me to poll 4. Please see your screens for the poll now. Poll 4. Invite your responses to the poll, please. We have about another 3 to 5 minutes in case there are any clarifications, questions. I'll be happy to take them while the poll remains there. Okay, thank you very much.